Morning guys, welcome to another episode of Motorcyclist MC Commute. Today we're going to be riding to the motorcyclist office in Southern California on Ducati's 2020 Monster 1200S. So without further ado, let's throw the helmet on and go for a ride.
Well, here she is guys, Ducati's 2020 Monster 1200S. This gloss black on black colorway is special livery for the 2020 model year. Now, this is Ducati's top-of-the-line Monster Sport Naked bike. So, it's not a street fighter, it's not a super bike, it's not a touring bike. It's a city bike designed for someone who's looking for a bike that looks very aggressive, yet has a high level of performance. Now, Ducati's been making these monsters for 27 years. 2020 marks the 27th anniversary of the original 900 Monster that debuted in 1993. Now, the Ducati Monster concept at its time was all about simplicity. Look at that fuel tank. That's a signature styling cue from Ducati. The way that fuel tank looks, the steel trellis front portion of the frame, that's another signature styling concept, letting that engine hang in the breeze. Svet tail, at least more Svet proportions as compared to the Monster from a few years ago, but overall it's a pretty pleasing looking bike. I love that headlight LED. I love the gold 48mm Öhlins fork that comes equipped on this up-spec S model, and I love the proportions of the tail and the tank. What I do not like, however, is all this plastic stuff. Look at all this plastic stuff here. Way too much plastic stuff here. They need to remove that and get back to the basics of the Monster. But enough talking about it. Let's hop on it and see what it's like to ride. Alright guys, here we go. Oil service. We've reached 621 miles, which is 21 miles over the recommended first service. So this bike needs its first service, which includes an oil change, but we'll talk more about that in a minute. Ducati's made great strides to reduce the maintenance intervals in its motorcycle. Right now we are riding in sport mode. Before we take off, I'll show it to you guys real quick. We just get the bike in neutral. Here we are. So it's in neutral, but the neutral light hasn't engaged for whatever reason. So here we are in sport mode. We can also select touring mode, urban mode, but for now let's do sport mode because that's the most fun. This motorcycle comes equipped with a suite of electronics. All of the Ducati electronics, well not all of them, but a lot of them are included in this Monster 1200S. We've got Ducati traction control, Ducati wheelie control, cornering ABS, 3 adjustable power modes, combined power modes and throttle maps, and you can tune everything in the manual or in the menu system here. Hopping on this motorcycle, Ducati Monsters have always had a very unique feel to them. The position of the rider in the cockpit in terms of the seat to the foot peg, that ratio, it's always a real sporty and aggressive stance. It's also a little bit more compact compared to other naked class performance bikes. So compact seating position. If you're a tall rider, this motorcycle is maybe not going to be the best choice for you ergonomically. Conversely, while the actual seating position is fairly tight and compact, the reach between the handlebar and the seat is a little bit more spacious. So these motorcycles always have a little bit of almost not well proportioned ergonomics, where the seat and the foot pegs is kind of tight, and then the stretch between the seat and the handlebar is a little bit more spacious. So kind of odd. But compared to the previous Monster 1200, the 2014 generation, This motorcycle is much more slim. When Ducati introduced their water-cooled configuration, well, of course they had the water-cooled configuration with the original Monster with the S24, but when they switched to complete liquid cooling in 2014, they made the motorcycle too big. The wheelbase was too long, the proportions were very bulky, and it was a very big and awkward feeling motorcycle. So Ducati figured out that they made a mistake, and then for 2017 they reduced the proportions of the bike and made it slimmer, and I like that. It's a much more small and compact bike, which was the whole point of the Monster in the beginning anyways, was to be small, simple, agile, fun, charismatic. So it's good to see Ducati getting back to its roots after taking a wrong turn for a couple years. Now, this Monster 1200 is powered by Ducati's 1198cc L twin. This Testastretta engine has the 11 degree valve overlap. And what that means is that the time when the valves are open together is at a very minimal duration. And that helps create very smooth power band. So the engine in this motorcycle was originally developed for Ducati's then 1198 superbike. So this was a high performance sport bike Ducati made in 2010, 11, 12, 13, I believe. And it was succeeded by the Panigale. I'm sorry, yeah, the 1199 Panigale succeeded it. There's been so many editions of Ducati and Panigales it's hard to remember them all. But this engine was actually designed for superbike use and then retrofitted into the Multistrada, which is a Ducati adventure sport touring bike. More sport touring than anything. And the engine in this bike is this 1098, 1198 based L twin. It's always been a really fun engine. This is a engine that is almost a classic Ducati engine. You know, it's big, it makes a lot of torque, it sounds cool. Like, this is what Ducati is known for, is these type of engines, and this Monster 1200S has it. Ducati's fine-tuned the power plant. They added dual spark ignition to get it a little bit more clean combustion. And they've employed some technical improvements that they learned from the Monster 1200R, which debuted for the 2016 model year. So this bike now has larger throttle bodies, a different exhaust, higher compression. So this 1198cc engine is actually in a very high state of tune. On our dyno, this bike put out 131 horsepower at the business end of the Pirelli Diablo Rosso 3 tire. That's a lot of power. Over 80 foot-pound of torque. And what I like about this engine is it makes over 60 foot-pound of torque from just over 2,700 RPM. So a lot of juice at your disposal here. It rained last night, so sorry guys if we're going a little bit slow. Roads are soaking wet. We should probably have Ducati traction control on, but we're gonna live dangerously today and have it off. Away we go, guys. I really like the character of this engine when we're in motion. When we're in motion, it sounds good, has good torque feeling. Where some of the high-performance modern Ducatis, you have to rev the bejesus out of them to go anywhere. This thing has really good, ample, low-end torque. It jumps off the corners very nicely. Clutch has good feel. Pull it's well rated. It's definitely a little bit heavier than probably it should be, but at the same time it's not too heavy. Obviously the hydraulic actuator here helps reduce lever pull. but the clutch is real responsive. You can really feel that engagement point here at the stop. Pirelli Diablo 3 Rosso 3s hook up well even in the wet. Popped a little wheelie. We have the wheelie control and DTC all disabled so we can have maximum fun on this bike. This S motorcycle rolls on Öhlins suspension for a approximately $2,000 upcharge. You get Öhlins suspension, larger diameter disc brakes, and different aluminum, cast aluminum wheels. So I think the standard model comes with 10 spoke. This thing has 3 J spoke design wheels. So that's what you get for the extra $2,000 over the standard Monster. Love accelerating on this thing. The tone in the engine in the cockpit here is very nice. Sounds good. My only complaint on the engine tone is this particular Monster S is outfitted with a number of Ducati accessories. Note these Rizoma reservoir covers and some stuff like that. It also has this carbon fiber exhaust guard, which, while looks really nice, it has a weird vibration. So when the engine is running at a certain RPM, that little cover will vibrate and make things just sound very annoying. So I wish Ducati would spend some more time when they're developing their accessories to reduce that potential vibration from the engine and the actual hardware itself. Cruising top gear, 60 miles per hour. This bike doesn't have cruise control, it doesn't have heated grips. This is a more performance style motorcycle from Ducati. Nice color TFT display, keeps tabs on the machine vitals. I like that this display has all the necessary information: gear position indicator, air temperature. Looks nice too. The only caveat on this display is, number one, it's too small. This display should be way bigger. It's very, very small. It's compact. It's not impossible to read, but it's definitely a little bit tough to read. Like, look how small those digits are and those fonts are. Problem number two is, where's the touchscreen? Where's the touchscreen? Why can't this display be touchscreen compatible? Other motorcycle manufacturers have touchscreen, very functional touchscreen compatible displays. So I would like to see Ducati employ that. All adjustments have to be made via the menu navigation system, which we'll show you here in a bit. And it's a very cumbersome and awkward system. Way too many button pushes and steps that you have to make adjustments. It should be simplified greatly. This has been a common complaint we've had with Ducati motorcycles ever since they started employing sophisticated electronics with the 1098R 12 years ago or whenever that was. So, yep, they need to step it up. We talked about the suspension a little bit on the historically bumpy road, and this suspension on this bike does a real good job of filtering out road bumps. The ride quality is very pleasing. I've ridden Monsters in the past that didn't have quite the plush ride of this Monster 1200S, which I really like. If you want to make adjustment to the fork damping circuits, got independent spring preload on each fork leg, and then rebound damping duties are handled on the right fork leg, where compression is on the left. The shock also has handy Oline style toolless adjustment knob, so all you have to do is twist the knob for added rebound and or compression damping. I really like that. But to be fair, this Monster 1200S with its OEM suspension settings, they work really good. Sometimes Ducati has real goofy suspension settings out of the box, but this motorcycle isn't one of them. This one has pretty decent stock suspension calibration, which I like. Engine's so peppy, it just makes accelerating fun. It makes this motorcycle really apt to play, easy to ride in the city. You can really get to where you're going quickly. Vibration. There is some vibration creeping through the foot peg and the handlebar, but because this motorcycle engine has so much character and it's so classic Ducati, I like that vibration. The vibration only adds to the experience. It's almost like it was precisionally engineered to have this vibration to give the motorcycle a more pleasurable riding experience. And Ducati did that very nicely. Fueling on this motorcycle, the throttle response is, it's very aggressive. You get used to it, but it definitely has some jump to it. Right now we're riding in the most responsive setting. So sport mode gives full access to all 131 horsepower at the back tire with a very direct throttle response, which is nice some of the time, but when you're trying to do wheelies and that kind of stuff, it gets a little bit too sensitive, makes it hard to really carry a wheelie. Conversely, if you put it on power mode medium, which still gives the engine full access to the power, just with a smoother delivery, delivery is too dull. It's almost like Ducati needs another setting between the sport mode and the medium mode. Maybe a medium plus mode where it still gives you full access to the power, but with a slightly more aggressive throttle map. Not as aggressive as sport mode, but just a little bit more. That's what I would like to see. Still, it is nice that Ducati offers all of these electronics on this motorcycle, and it's also important to note that Ducati fully develops these electronic countermeasures in-house. It doesn't outsource the electronics, the programming, the software programming of the electronics. It also develops in-house, and it does that so it has total control of the motorcycle. And Ducati can systematically improve the electronics every year. So every model year they tweak the software programming. They don't really talk about that they do, but they do that based on information they learn at the track, through racing, through other forms of engineering the new motorcycles. And that's how it goes. So kudos to Ducati for stepping up and continuing to develop that in-house. We haven't ridden this motorcycle in a very sporty application, so we can't really speak to the performance of the Ducati traction control. Historically, Ducati traction control has not been the best historically, but they're definitely making improvements on the software side and the hardware side and getting the system to actuate more. We'd like to one day ride this motorcycle maybe on a really sporty set of canyons or at the track and be able to tell if the traction control has improved or not. Hook shifter, up and down. We also forgot to talk about this. This motorcycle is equipped with that technology, so you don't even need to use the clutch when you shift. You only need to use it when you come to a stop or when you launch the motorcycle from a standstill. A very nice feature, especially helpful when you're riding at the track or through corners. It helps reduce instability while cornering and deaccelerating. Great feature. Only problem is the transmission in this motorcycle, a couple times it'll just go into ghost land and be into like neutral between some gears. So that false neutral problem we've had with Ducati motorcycles, especially Monsters, for pretty much forever. So again, another thing that Ducati should do is really hone in the design of the transmission so the rider's not experiencing false neutrals. Whoa, what was that? We started wheeling and the thing just came slamming down. It was a practice wheelie to warm up for our wheelie test over here. There's the false neutral. We were in mystery transmission land. Now we're here. Alright guys, we're almost to the motorcyclist's office here. It's been a pretty fun ride on this Ducati Monster 1200S. Great engine character, lively handling, yet still comfortable. 465 pounds with a full tank of gas, doesn't feel that heavy. Alright guys, the wheelie test, here we go. Yeah, wheelie's good. Again, you have to have Ducati wheelie control turned off to be able to do that, which we manually disabled. We'll show you the menu system here in a minute when we get to work, come to a stop. Back it in test. Sorry guys, we didn't do it today. The rain made me scared. Alright guys, we're coming to the conclusion of our ride. Very pleasurable ride on the Monster 1200. I like that Ducati's signature torquey feel of their motorcycles is alive and well in this bike. Fun motorcycle to ride, no doubt. Here we are, guys. We are here. Alright, let's show you the menu system, guys. Hold this button down here for a couple seconds. Now we're in the riding mode system. Go here. Sport, touring, urban, default. We can change all the settings here. ABS. When we ride again, let's put it in 1. Setting 1 means that ABS front is on, but rear is disabled. So let's push that. We push these buttons here to make it work. Problem with this thing is you have to hold things down ridiculously long. You have to hit the memory button for it to store. Just way too many steps in this process. Memorize. So it took us that long just to change the ABS. DTC, 8 is highest, 1 is least. We'll leave it off. If we don't want to change anything, we'll just go to exit. Again, way too many steps. DWC is off because traction control is off. There's the engine setting. We had it at high, medium, low. Again, I'd like to see Ducati come up with a medium plus. Medium plus or a high minus. That would be great. But once you figure out how to use the menu system, it's pretty good. There's dark mode, which I really like. I like the dark mode rather than the where it's black on white instead of white on black. Makes it more pleasing, just like on your iPhone. So a variety of settings in here you can choose from. But let's talk about the bike real quick. Alright guys, here it is. Ducati's Monster 1200S. Let's do some Q&A. Alright guys, what are the fans saying? Let's see. Let's go right here. Motorcyclist Online on Instagram. Please give us a follow there. Straight to the top. Just Johnny143. What would you rather have, a Scrambler or a Monster? Great question, Johnny. I can't really tell you. I'd probably rather have an old Monster. I'd go with an old Monster. I would buy an old air-cooled Monster. That's what I would do. Great question. Jasper Caster asks, are the maintenance intervals really worth it? Maintenance. Ducati motorcycles have had a horrible reputation for maintenance. Well, they've made great strides in the last decade to improve that. And the maintenance intervals on this motorcycle are quite light. 600-mile break-in service. After that, your next service is at 9,000 miles. That's right. Ducati says that you can go a distance of 9,000 miles between oil changes. Valve adjustment intervals on this motorcycle have been stretched to 18,000 miles. So every 9,000 miles you have to change the oil, and every 18,000 miles you have to adjust the valve train. Wow, that's much better than previous Ducatis. Again, we'd like to see that valve train interval stretched to maybe quadruple that, but still, these motorcycles don't require anywhere near the amount of maintenance they used to. Of course, annual brake fluid and hydraulic fluid changes are recommended. You can do it every 2 years if you're a little bit tighter on money. But these motorcycles are much more reliable than they ever been, and they require less maintenance than ever. So great questions here. Davis Borig asks, this or an FTR? Love the commutes. Keep them coming. This or an FTR? I'd probably have to go with this. I'd probably have to go with this than an FTR. Great question. Is it still a contender in the super naked category, especially with the new Ducati Street Fighter V4? Asked Dinshaw_Maggle. That's a good question. This motorcycle is not in the same category as the Street Fighter 848 1098 V4. This is a high-performance naked bike, but still not ultra high performance. The upcoming Street Fighter V4 is ultra high performance. It's basically a Panigale V4 without fairings and an upright handlebar, and that's it. So that's how Ducati positions its motorcycles. The Monster is high performance sport, but the Street Fighter is ultra high performance sport. Well, that's a wrap from today's Motorcyclist MC Commute. Great Q&A today, guys. Would I purchase this $17,600 motorcycle, minus, not including the accessories it has, this Rizoma gas cap, these mirrors, reservoir cover, the vibrating carbon fiber exhaust thing? Minus those things, would I buy this $17,600 motorcycle? I would not buy this motorcycle. This motorcycle is just too expensive for what you get. Yeah, the engine's awesome. Yeah, it sounds cool. Yeah, it handles well. But there's just some nitpicky fit and finish things, like the false neutrals, like the vibrating exhaust cover, stuff like that, that just makes this motorcycle feel much less premium than its MSRP implies. I also am not a fan of the styling of, like, look at all these hoses here, these rubber hoses and this plastic and these spark plugs and all this wiring stuff. Like, the Monster is supposed to be all about simple, classic, clean. I don't see simple, classic, or clean in that. So for me, if I was looking for a Monster, I would buy an old air-cooled Monster. That's how I would go. But still, this motorcycle is a fun motorcycle. It's loaded with high-tech features, in-house design, traction control, ABS, wheelie control. This thing has the works. So if you are a motorcycle rider that wants a high-performance, aggressive-looking naked bike, and you have a lot of money to burn, this Monster 1200S might be for you. But that's a wrap from today's MC Commute, guys. Make sure to give us a subscribe here on the YouTube channel machine, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.